Good afternoon or good day wherever you are. And we welcome you to H&D Abroad. I'm Herman.
I'm Dee. Welcome to our probably series. We're probably going to do a fall series on, if you have decided to incorporate moving abroad into your 2025 plans, then this might be a good space for you to kind of look at what your options are. We are doing the same, and that is what our channel is all about. So on H&D Abroad, H and I are sharing our move abroad process. We are sharing the research that we're doing, which is what we're going to be doing today. But we also invite folks from our community to come on and share their journey. And also we share our scouting trips so that you can kind of get insight into what the process looks like. If that is interesting to you, we have a ton of playlists that are just for you. If you are a man, if you are a couple, if you're considering doing this process as a house sitter, if you are just trying to figure out like internally, what are the things that I'm also working on in my emotional, my physical, my social well-being, we got playlists to help you along the way. So
as always, we ask you stop a minute and like this video. Boom, right there, just like that. See how simple that is? Then we ask you to share this video because there are other people who want to be a part of this conversation because this is
a conversation.
And most of all, we ask you to subscribe to our channel. Being a part of this community is not a benefit to us by numbers. It's a benefit because we get a chance to learn more about this process from and with you. So we ask you to be a part of this process. And that's about as clear a sentence as I've had in a long time. I feel pretty good about it.
Absolutely.
So if you are here, don't hide. Step into the chat. Let us know you're here. Give a shout out. Greet each other because we are going to greet you. We'll start off.
Hey, Miss Mocha Mama. Hey, Tanya Brooks. We have so many thoughts. I shared a video, I guess it was yesterday, on our channel about, so if you have attended Exodus Summit, if you have been a part of the Move Abroad School, if you have been watching, if YouTube has served this content to you because you have been searching and the algorithm has presented, hey, this might be helpful to you. Where do I start? So I'm all in. I can see a need in my life that could be fulfilled by traveling more or moving abroad. Today's conversation is going to walk you through. A lot of the focus is on choosing a country. A lot of what we hear in our consulting, when we consult with community members, and probably where we started our process was, okay, so there are over 150 countries. That's a lot of options. Where do we want to go? I mean, it's a big decision. And I think there are a lot of people talking about choosing your country and, spending a lot of time choosing the right country for you. But actually, I want to help people to step back and see there are a whole lot of other decisions that you can be making in your life and on your journey where you can leave what country you're going to till farther along in your process. You can look at places, but that doesn't have to be your focus because there's a lot in your life that probably needs to be identified and streamlined so that when you leave the US, when you have chosen your country, then things have already flowed toward your goal. It doesn't matter where you're going. If you're going to Alaska, if you're going to Argentina, if you're going to Thailand, you would be doing the same things as regardless of the country that you're going to. So
hello to Sophia Gavin and to Beijing Alpha 4. Good to see you.
absolutely.
So if we're being a little transparent,
yeah.
and I think this is something that we've said along the way, but for those who are new, who may not have seen deep off into all the stuff we said before, one of our struggles has been
Where?
choosing / agreeing to a place to go. And
especially as a couple.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Because several things play into the process, the presented process of choosing a place. And the reason I say a presented process, you get a lot of information about, you ought to be looking for this, you ought to be doing that. And as well as you come with your own perceptions about the world, about places. When we started this conversation, Dee was pretty concrete. She wanted to go to some parts of Southeast Asia. She wanted to go to Thailand. Now, I've shared that I've always loved Asia as a place. I had never considered it as a home. There is a natural apprehension about being in a place where you are even more of a minority than you already are. Because as a minority in this country, that hasn't always been
a positive experience.
That's rarely been a positive experience. Okay.
Right.
And then you're asking me to take my double minority partner outside the country. Now, I personally think that Black women, American women in particular, are exotic to the world. So they want you to come. They love you wherever you are. There are, I believe, a lot of stereotypes about who an American Black man is. Okay. If he's not retirement age or a child. Everybody in between, we all hip hop. It doesn't matter how professional we are, it doesn't matter, and hip hop suggests any level of that's a compliment as well as that's an insult. Then there's the approach that we talked about this week that I think that women have to the move abroad process versus the men. I said, I think women have a concept that they are drawn to. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's peace. It's those words that we've heard the Exodusers say across the gamut, where men are saying, is it safe? Can I work? Can will I be accepted? There's more concrete. They're looking for partners if they're single. There's a goal in mind. And so all of those pieces create then what? So will they have a visa that it works for our finances? Will they have a visa that works for our time frame? Is it a positive for the kind of health we have, altitude, healthcare, blah, blah, blah. There's so many things that affect that look abroad, and you can get bogged down in the weeds of the where before you get concrete in the how and what's our word? The why.
Oh, and the why. Oh, yes. So, okay. So we're going to just be honest. As I love the Exodus Summit quiz. If you have not taken it before, it can kind of open your eyes to a few things. But if you look at the questions, it's asking you about you. I think when we say don't fall in love with a country, do this first. We're asking you to sit down and think about how you live your life now. Because I think how I live my life now and things like a soft landing when you are in another country could give you some clues about what in the new country would help me to ease my way in.
Okay.
Most of us are not prepared, may not be prepared to go without a car, go without, a lot of the things that are a convenience for me. But I can begin to look at my life and see what are the most critical things that I need so that where's the little stack? We use index cards. We use index cards and put things like healthcare, walkability. We put things like how long is it going to take us to be able to come back to the States? Because we know, but what we know about ourselves is we are the oldest children, and being at, if our parents need us, we want to be able to come back. If our children really have a need for us to physically be here, that's most important to us at this stage of choosing a place. And so as you begin to lay out what are all the possibilities, do they have the kind of food that I want to eat? You know, what the conveniences that you may have incorporated into your life. I like consistent hot water.
No, not like. That is a must. I don't do cold showers. I don't. That is a must. I'll skip a dryer. I have to have hot water.
Consistent electricity. So the things that you may not have even noticed about your everyday life, things that you would depend on, I think will help you to say, okay, look, the most critical, if I took choosing a country off the table, what am I left with? That I probably need to make some decisions about. For those of us, Dr. Linda and I have talked about this before. I was like, we're not retirement age. We don't have, so we need internet. Internet, because of looking at the processes that if I have to work, I'm not going to a country where I'm looking for a job there, unless we do teaching. So, but if I'm going to work, if I'm going to own my own business, stable internet is what is going to drive. Stable electricity is going to drive my process. And so it's going to also eventually help me to look at this country and look at the cities within the country that I'm going to see if those things actually match up. One hot button issue that we have encountered is people will ask us during our consults is, do they have a Black community there? And initially, and at first I was like, why are you asking, why are you asking about that? But I have started to be more sensitive to that. If you've not been, as I was growing up, the only in a place, it can be very unsettling. And it can be very disorienting. And I want to say that the inverse of this is true. And I have never said this to anybody. But if you have never been in all Black environments, that can also be disconcerting. Don't come for me in the chat. Don't come for me. Okay?
No.
What I'm saying is you have to recognize the reality of your living, because those can create friction points. I love Korea, South Korea. I love Japan. But they have mostly, outside of Tokyo, they have a very, what do you call it, monocultural environment.
They're indigenous to themselves. And that has been, to be honest, a challenge for me. You've heard me say, those who've been with us a while, say both sides of that are a challenge for me. I grew up in Black environments, but I did not grow up in the middle of my family. So that whole we with the Black folk all the time stuff, I didn't understand what people were making that as a priority. I was just like, you can stay in your own neighborhood if you want to stay with the Black folk. I mean, just you're going out to meet the world. And I still believe that being a part of a community that is theirs and not recreating your community somewhere else is important to the prospect of moving abroad. I'm learning through these conversations with you all the importance of having some familiarity, especially if that's the environment you've been in your whole life. I'm the guy who says if your young people have been in a white or mixed environment most of their lives, like D, where you are highly a minority, then HBCUs are a great opportunity for you. I'm also the person that says if your kids went to Black school straight through 12th grade, they need to go to somewhere where the population is more diverse, because the world is diverse. The work world in this country is diverse. And that social balance, being able to understand how people, just because we're all humans, we do not all think alike. And it is not black and white like black and white. It is not black and white like Republicans and Democrats. Those cut and dry lines that America tends to draw are unrealistic. And so when we go to another country and then we're worried because we do like we do in the mall, there's a Black person, we're in Utah, there's a Black person, and I mean, I get it, I feel it. I'm the same person. There are places in this little state we live in where I'm just like, please let a Black person walk past me, don't let me be the only person here. But
those are things that you may not have been thoughtful of
in the broader sense of the conversation because of your experience here. I want to take a minute and say hello to Servant Teacher Nikki and Professor LCH and Dr. Linda. And I see Jace is here under both his name and Gen X Quench. Y'all go in and subscribe to Gen X Quench. And to the folks, good to see you guys.
So, I mean, when you are planning your move, there's some like cut and dry things. Most of us, most of the people who watch our content are 40 and up. And we have been taking our things from probably age 20 forward with us. We probably need to be prioritizing some decluttering, regardless of your timeline. Okay. It's time to start getting rid of things. It doesn't matter where you're going. You probably are going to take fewer things. You need to declutter with you. You need to declutter
around you, and you need to declutter inside you.
Yes. And I wish it was declutter. I'm really saying you need to get rid of some stuff. We just did a closet cleaning again. Now, my husband says, he said, I already don't have anything.
I have clothes in the closet just so it can look like I have clothes in the closet. I can't wear them. They're worn out. They're just there so that my closet doesn't look like I own a pair of pants and a shirt and the rest of the closet is hers. I just want to act, I want to feel like I belong. But I literally just got rid of like 90% of the things I have in my closet because weight changes, style changes. I mean,
but probably the biggest thing is, there were things I was doing pre-pandemic. I might have been going to church. I was in the office more. And I was just like, business wear isn't what I do anymore. And business wear isn't what I'm going to be doing when I leave. The first time I did, ladies, just come along with me on this one. I had a closet full of shoes. He didn't understand why I needed to have 12 different pairs of black heels. There's black patent leather with the thin heel. There's a black stiletto. There was a black chunky heel, black leather heel.
Don't get me wrong.
black pumps, black flats.
I'm not mad at the heels. Okay. But I have 3 pairs of shoes and I wear one of them 90% of the time.
But I'm just saying, and because we've been on this process, we've been intentional about we're not going to dump everything and leave. It's really helped us to have several iterations of it. We've done the same with the garage. We have fewer things now. You don't recognize, if you haven't looked, if there are closets you have not been in, now is the time, because now you have a goal. I'm leaving the US. I'm probably going to downsize or put my stuff in storage, or why pay for that, 20 pairs of shoes when you know that, when you come back, are you really going to want to wear those things?
We could barely wear our tennis shoes and climb the mountain high curbs in Mexico City. and there was no way in the world I was going to expect you to have on heels.
And I've had to come to grips with the fact that even though these are shoes I curated.
They're shoes I bought for her.
My high heel shoes, okay? And I tried to wear them and was sorely disappointed last weekend when I was in Atlanta. I was like, who wears these shoes anymore? And does it make sense for the reality I'm creating for myself? Things, other things, when I'm looking at my life, when I'm saying, what should I prioritize? I feel like a lot of people they do a lot of research. I mean, I got to find the right place, but I'm saying you can take action on things like I'm looking across. We sometimes sit in front of the fireplace, and you guys have seen, all of our family pictures, and those are very important to me. I'm not going to get rid of them, but I have taken them out of their frames because I'm taking them somewhere to get them digitized and then put them in something that will last from us to our children and whoever else comes behind. Mm-hmm. But I knew that has to be a priority regardless of where we go, because they're important to me. I'm probably not going to take them with me initially, at least, and I want. And so I'm going to have to do something with them. We took family pictures. We were intentional about taking family pictures every year. So literally, if you see them, it was the two of us together. Then when we had our daughter, and then we had our daughter, and then I was pregnant with the next child. And then, so I wanted that kind of footprint for our kids to be able to see themselves over their lifetime. But that means I got a lot of Portrait Innovations, Olin Mills,
Sears,
and Kmart pictures,
and a few Targets.
Yes, and a few Target, portraits.
None of them places have portraits.
So what I'm saying is, you're going to have to go through those things, regardless of if you are going to be doing long-term travel. Mm-hmm. And so there are things that you can. But the holidays are coming, y'all. And I'm saying do this first as part of this Move Abroad conversation, because now that you have a goal in mind, what are you buying when it comes to Black Friday? Mm-hmm. Don't buy something you're going to have to turn around and sell, because I can't take that with me. That doesn't make sense to take with me.
It's really taken. We are not, well, maybe I should say, I don't consider that we are thing buyers. There are things that we want that we've always talked ourselves out of. There's stuff that we deserve. And I'm gonna use that as a word. There's things that you just doggone, you earned it, and we don't buy them. And purchasing things now, as well as what we are downsizing, has a different level of purpose in its transfers. You've heard me say before, because we're having this conversation, we're leading this way forward in this conversation. Let's say we never make it out of the country.
Yeah.
Okay. That this turns into a long-term travel and visitation kind of life for us, because it turns out that's what's best. Now, mind you, we set a goal for 2025, and that goal gives us purpose. But let's say that were not to happen. What I don't want to do is, if at the last minute we're trying to figure out, because it's easy to fill this space back up. We were driving down the street last week, a week ago today, and down the street from our house, they opened up a large cast iron steel store. Now, cast iron next to her is my first love.
Look, I took cast iron skillet set with me to college. I'm serious about my culinary, but I've also curated culinary things. I mean, knife sets and things.
They had
beautiful things.
They had a cast iron
wok,
gas stove top wok. Now I own a wok, but I don't have a cast iron. And we walked out of the store. It was within my price range. My birthday is this weekend. I was coming up with reasons, and I walked out of the store. We walked out with one cast iron top for our 10-inch skillet that we've had since she came to college.
We've had for almost 35 years.
It was a reasonable purchase because that skillet is going with us.
Yes.
Okay. And it was a thought process that was not overthinking it. We didn't overthink ourselves out of buying it or overthink ourselves into buying it. It was.
But that is the ready question that we have been presenting to each other.
Why would we buy this? Because we have no tops for our skillets, and that would be something to buy when we get it's a process that is a part of it's going in the box. It's going out of town with us. And so these little bits of things, and because it does not matter where we go, whether we are house sitting all over the country or whether or not we land in country X, that cast iron skillet is a ride or die.
I'm going to put up a couple of these comments because look, Mocha Mama, we're tiny house people. I was all in before we bought this before we built this 4-bedroom house. I was like, we're going to be in a tiny house. Now, in a tiny house with a teenager, why would I invite the fight? So we bought a house instead of a tiny. But I think even with that compressing my things, I was already in that mindset, and it continued to give us more motivation to say, I can live with less. I don't need as much. And it's time for a lot of things to go. Ta-ra. Hello, love. So, and then
just a couple of pairs of shoes.
Yes. I see you. I'm gonna have to look that up because I might need some new shoes. But anyway, yeah. Okay. So Jace is talking about the kids' photos. We homeschooled, so I have probably double of what was in the classroom.
And even with those, and we live in a digital world, so we've photographed a lot of things that provide us a place to store memories without having to store those memories.
But I want to save them with the digital pictures, but I think I'm a person that still buys books. But we haven't even gotten to books talking about. If you are people like us that I prefer to turn a page, and I have not bought a Kindle because that's not how I roll as a bookie. So yeah, there are multiple paths for keeping the things that have deep meaning for you. If it's a must buy, it has to fit in a suitcase, y'all.
And even Dr. Linda, be careful what you tell people. There are people who will be leaving with a whole lot. Even with that, and be mindful of what travel airlines or whatever transportation you're going to use, what they will allow, because that will help too. If they will only allow 3-4 suitcases, if shipping tubs and tubs of things is outside your budget, you really need to be thinking about, but can I maximize this? Do I want to save a storage unit back here that I'm paying for that hopefully I'll get back to, or somebody has to check in on? And I'm not, again, don't misunderstand, I'm not the guy telling you to throw away your things.
No.
we were born of parents who were of a generation where if our fathers walked out there and saw all that stuff and it did not relate directly to them, it was headed to the curb. And there were a whole lot of unpleasant conversations at our parents' house. So I have to be careful because then I touch nothing. I touch nothing. If this doesn't directly mine, and I'm not touching it, I'll ask about it. But and there are times when you have to have that uncomfortable conversation. Okay, I know this is important. Tell me where this falls in the level of importance.
And we're doing it together.
Correct.
So, I mean,
there's not one or other of us going through everybody's things, making a decision. Because if I'm the only person making the decision, it's just easier for me to take it to the curb. I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not trying to take it down to the thrift store. When the truck come by, they can pick it up and throw it in. And that is, I have watched hurt happen on both sides of the.
I threw your stuff away.
My sister came back to the house because something she left at the house got given away, and I mean it was there are a whole lot of. No, bro, not. So when you're doing it together, in particular, there is a lot of conversation. I watched Dr. Linda, I guess it was a year ago, and you're out there, and that emotionalness. Hopefully, because we're doing this together, we can, as I say, spread some of that emotion. Yeah. Thin some of that out so we can make that decision together. When you got to plow through, those of you who say, hey, it's just me in my house and this is all this stuff I got. That is, we take for granted how heavily emotional I can't think of my word, a process that is. And if we're honest with ourselves, the reason is we haven't done it is because we're avoiding it.
100%.
Not because we're trying to save the things, but we're avoiding the process of being, it's like watching your child go off to school. It's easier to have them go to school in town. Fact of the matter is, in my opinion, and this is father speak here, the further away they are, because it allows them to decide what they're going to do. And so, when you ain't got to deal with the stuff, when you ain't got to go out there and touch it, when you ain't got to decide this is going to the trash, this is going to the thrift store, this is going to the consignment, I'm trying to sell this. When you don't have to deal with that, then your garage becomes everything but a garage.
Tanya Brooks, I put hers up here because it triggered not only what I need to do for our house. We've been together for 25 years. I brought things from my home. I still have my childhood. I have my record player and records from when I was like 8, 9. I still have my Polaroid camera that is back in style now. But there are things that I brought from my parents' home to your house. But then also, y'all, I'm also thinking if I can clean this up for myself because we're moving abroad, my mama is not touching any of her things. My mama is not touching any of her things. So I'd rather clean up my stuff because I know I'm going to have to deal with hers as well when the time comes for us to move her, to a facility if she needs care or something like that. So, whether you're in the move abroad space or not, we've talked a lot about the stuff, but I think also there are things about how you live and your life that I think you need to take notice of, that the move abroad process really should bring.
You gotta put that up. That's hilarious.
Oh gosh, Professor LCH.
I'm sorry, I'm all in the next comment laughing. It trust me, it's annoying for us too, because I told a couple of my kids this week. I was like, adulting doesn't get easier just because you learn to do it, and learn is a quote unquote you do it because you get used to doing it, and not necessarily because you become professional at it. There's so many things that you're just like, can somebody else do this? Can somebody else come take this? I'm about to be 51 years old and I'm going, can somebody else go to work so I don't have to? But I would never want to be somebody else's responsibility at this point in my life.
Mhm.
And so in this digging in, there's that process we're considering too in the conversation.
Right, right. So, I mean, there are some things about how you live that you can begin to navigate as you're doing your research. What I have heard from everybody, whether it is people that have bopped around or have moved already, is give yourself, you're going to need more time to declutter, let go of things in your life. You're going to need more time than you think.
Mhm.
And so if today is the day that you're saying, I am ready to go, how do I ready my life for this new place? We did a video. It was probably our second or third video about things that you can start doing before you leave the US. I'm going to make sure that we drop that into this. It's a part of our Move Abroad playlist. And it's just talking about things like, hey, I'm going to be in a new place. I probably want to begin to learn some language skills. Most of us in the US have had to take a Spanish, a French, or something, even if it's just getting in the mindset of, I'm going to be in new places and I want to begin to build that skill. If I'm a socially awkward person, I'm probably going to want to begin to introduce myself to people because I am very insulated in my US life. In the States, we are very, independence is highly valued. It is not just valued. I think you're seen as a self-actualized adult because you are independent. You can do things for yourself. There's a lot of interdependence that is expected within communities. I just listened to Joyce's interview yesterday, the Minerves that we had on, that talked about their family's transition to Ethiopia. And she said, I learned to leave work a little early when they moved to the Dominican Republic because she realized in that culture, it is very social. And so she would leave early for work because she would be walking and people would want to stop and chat along her route. And so instead of saying, I can't talk to you, which is very American, I will walk past you and then send a good morning email to you. Culturally, I know that other places, most places in the world are have a slower pace of life. And so I want to stop. Yes, in my neighborhood, yesterday we were walking and the lady was sitting on the front porch and I was like, normally I'd be like, hello, and keep walking. I stopped to talk.
And it's happened a couple of times in the last week or so.
I'm building in that muscle because I know it's going to be something useful. I'm trying to identify habits that I have, the way I live my life. Are those things that are going to serve me well when I leave, or there are places in my life where I need to grow? I was listening to even things like Costco and big box shopping. Yeah, I don't want to go to the store and buy toilet paper every few weeks. I like my deep freezer that has beans and greens and soup and, just things that I freeze during the summer months or freeze consistently. I freeze my cornbread. And you take that out and I can have a full home cooked meal without having to prepare. That's how I have insulated, how I've built, convenience into my life so that I don't eat out as much. But in other places, freezing your food, freezing your vegetables isn't needed. It's convenient to be able to walk to some places and buy things regularly.
Which plays into my shopping style. Because I like having fresh for today. I am super excited about the idea of getting fresh today on the way home, and those little things. But even with that, I am practicing moderation. Having the freedom to do daily does not then say I'm opening myself up to spending, because I still want to eat what's at my house. I still like coming home and saying, we got this in the house, and I'm making something out of it. I want to put this comment up here by Dr. Linda, because I think there's a point in here that's somebody else offered to help clean. And I think that might not be, even though that was random and unexpected, there are certain areas where you might need to call in some trusted persons to say, I can't deal with this. Come deal with that. I'm gonna walk away from that. And then whatever happens, whatever those things in that space are up for your discretion. And because if I deal with them, I'm not going to be rational
so
about it.
emotionally
Yeah.
tied to
And that might not be a bad. I think that we've done that separately for each other. But sometimes I think that somebody need to come in here when the little Hispanic lady came to our last place and cleaned it up, and she frowned at us the whole time. And I was like, man, lady, I'm not a slob, but
look,
but in comparison to what she did afterwards, I was like, man, I was a slob.
I was glad to pay. I was glad to pay.
But it helped me to walk away from a process that we would have gotten bogged down in trying to make it right. It was like, here, let's just do this and let's move on.
Absolutely.
What's the next hit?
So I probably the last thing that emotional. I think emotionally for me is probably one of the things that I think people are so interested in deciding where they're going versus being emotionally prepared to be I have built a lot of comfort into my life.
Okay.
I have built a lot of, and then I kind of I'm going more places. If you've not traveled before, where you have not been in a space that it's new, you are new to that space. I feel like that's the muscle that I needed to build before I could feel confident that we could be in a place long term. I come from a large family. We get together for multiple holidays. We're getting ready to come up on the holidays, and I'm like, this is gonna look different in a year.
That has been
processing. That's a form of homesickness or loneliness I have not had to deal with before. And my emotional well-being, I need to prepare and identify and see that. If you've not thought through that before, you definitely want to be adding that into the calculation of what I can be doing today, making meaningful connections with new people. I feel like that is, I'm in the Thailand group, and a lot of people talk about the struggle that people have because it's so far. It doesn't, a 26-hour plane ride back to the States is sometimes cost prohibitive, time prohibitive. But if you have no friendship skills, if you don't know how to not just be in places with other people, but be able to find bonds with other people, it's going to be a real struggle to be away from the comfort of friends, family.
And there's so many pieces to that. Our children are adults, but our sisters' children are all very young. And the reality is that we're already farther away from them than we'd like to be. We're talking about being even further away in their growing process. And that's not, their lives being where they were. Their children and our children didn't grow up together. So the opportunity to to have that they were cousins, we were aunts and uncles kind of thing. We're kind of missing some of that. Our parents, our remaining parents are in their late 70s. Our children are at the beginning of their adulting lives. We're all of those things, it's hard enough to be away. Holidays hit differently. We live here, and there's nothing to say that at Thanksgiving and Christmas our kids are coming home, because they have people with whom they interact now as others. And out of fairness, they may go to the others to do time, to spend time. We'll be away for the first time ever. We'll be away at Christmas.
I'm not dealing with that
And
as a mama.
And these are things that we're doing them so that we can kind of put a gut check on how we really feel about these processes. What does that mean? Are we going to go broke and trying to bring them wherever we are to get to where they are each time we want to see them? Or will we be content with a Zoom Thanksgiving where they're eating their turkey at their table and we're eating vegan tofu at her table? Will we be okay with that? Yeah. Can we still create the intimacy of family in distance? Will we be okay creating connections with people who will become family who aren't our blood?
Right.
Because, to be perfectly honest with you, speaking for myself, I've not done very well at making a habit that right here where Black people are. And you're asking me to get up and find some Black people somewhere else and become a part of an environment that, quite frankly, I'm not unfamiliar with. Maybe I should say not in habit of. And we take for granted and all I have to do is, and many people have come home just lonely.
Yeah.
Nothing else was wrong.
Yeah. Diamond's comment, setting up new habits, a new routine. For most of us, we don't have to do that. And routines create the normalness. And so we're trying out a few of these things just to test to see, how will I handle that? How will I handle that emotionally? It may determine how far, we talked a little bit about those index cards at the very beginning, when you are prioritizing, where you're going. I might not want to choose a country as far, because being with family during the holidays, being able to, be closer to a culture that is more similar to me. I mean, those things may help you, may direct you toward where you choose. And so I think not choosing a country, not falling in love with a country first, frees you from analysis of paralysis. I think it can free you up to some other things that, regardless of where you're going or how you're going or your timeline, are going to serve you well. And then reflect on yourself, reflect on your everyday habits, reflect on, what am I really depending on in my life, the interactions that I'm having, my need for silence, or my need to feel connected because things are happening around me. Those might be some really good indicators to steer you to whether it's a country or where you live in a city. Do you live in the middle of Central? Do you live in the suburb areas? Do you really need to have nature within walking distance of where you are? Do you really do you want to go from a culture where it is highly independent and you are actually isolated, and which is what I would say the US culture centers, you know, I really want to be intentional about being a part of a place where people check in on me, where people say, I missed you. Where they notice when I haven't been out of the house. As I get older, as I listen to family members say, if nobody, my phone could go weeks and no one call me. That I could go weeks and I could be in this house and nobody know. If the lady could die at work and it take a week for her coworkers to notice that she had died at work, I want to intentionally be in a culture that's just like, I didn't see you at the market today, or, I noticed you weren't out in your garden. Those are things that I think I'm going to have to recognize before I leave here that may help me to recognize some things as we're choosing a place to go.
I think what I hear you saying, maybe how I'm understanding, is you want to be authentically yourself wherever you are. And I think a part of that is taking into account who you are authentically right now. If you mentioned environments, you mentioned social engagement, you mentioned spending habits. What are you in the habit of doing now that is not authentically you? And I think a lot of people are trying to gravitate towards a space that allows them to be who they are. And I still think that one of the things that we caution about that I want to say here is I think there are things that you want to build into your habit process now, because wherever you go, the habits you have go with you. Mm-hmm. And if your habits are what's killing you here, your habits are going to kill you there. Mm-hmm. There isn't enough of a pushback in the rest of the world to stop you from being a spender. If you are OCD about buying 90 packs of paper towel, you're going to buy 90 packs of paper towel.
And it's not just OCD.
I know, I was using that as an extreme. I'm just saying,
no, after the pandemic, y'all, I was like, toilet paper will not be a question in this.
But you have to say at some point to yourself, what's the best process for me?
Correct.
And because if that process is still best for you, by all means, carry on.
But I recognize the trigger.
But if you're in a space that's the third of the size of the space you now live in a new country, 90 packs of paper towel
don't make sense.
They're going to impede your peace because they're going to then become something that you can't hide. It's there where it's taking up. You follow me? So you have to say now, how can I dial back on how I look at things? How can I dig more into the breath that is me? You wrote in the notes, take you with you.
No, you take you with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who you are is who you going. You're not going to be able to run away from you. You're not an extra spouse. You are you, and you are that person, and that's going to be a part of what you do. And the other part of that notes is, do you want to do this process with no regrets?
Yeah.
That can be a challenge.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I think we live in an environment of regret and guilt and shame and disappointment. Mm-hmm. It is the part of the Black women's peace search I do understand. Mm. I can't change who I was. That happened. It is what it is. I can't go back and do it over again. How do I make better choices? And again, today you make better choices. Timbuktu is not going to change how you are financially. It may change what you have financially. Mm-hmm. But if you are a impulse spender, you are going to be an impulse spender. If you're a trinket person, other countries are going to make you a trinket person because the colors, the things, the new. So you have to decide, what's my balance? So anyway.
I think that's pretty much all we wanted to be able to share is take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to choose. As a matter of fact, what this process has made me greedy for is I want to live in multiple places. I have to construct the life that I have in this country. It needs to align with how I want to live moving forward. Do I want to have to come back and maintain a house? Probably not. Even if I can't make a decision about that, I can make a decision about what is here so that as that becomes clearer to me along my process, I have aligned my life and my living and my choices and the questions that I ask myself before I take an action. Does this align with the life that I'm building? Or is this a part of the habit that I've always had? Y'all, I mean, even though we know that the Black Friday deals were last Friday's deals, they just hiked up the price a couple of weeks before and then brought it back down to what it was. But Black Friday is still a trigger. The day after, let's see, Thanksgiving Day, my sister, my mom, and I, while we were making the turkey, we would go get the newspaper, look through the paper, decide what stores. And then at midnight, we'd go to, y'all remember when JCPenney's used to give the ornament and then they'd have the discount code let me tell you, that's how old I am. When you would go to those after midnight sales and be at the mall all night. And then with my whole family, we would go to breakfast after shopping all night. It's still a trigger, even though those discounts have not materialized.
And we never did that. I didn't even know people did that. My mom that never happened. So when we got married,
I would send him, I'm making the dressing, and I'd send him to go get the paper. And he was like,
Circuit City. And for those of y'all old enough to remember, Circuit City was across from my first apartment. We had a new baby. We had been married a little while. And she said, Circuit City, we had this little TV that I brought from my apartment. And we were like, let's buy a TV. And I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and went over to Circuit City and realized that Circuit City's sale had the TVs on sale, literally, and I not exaggerate, they were $10 less. And I was like, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was standing in the middle of the store watching all these insane people running around the store. And I'm going, I couldn't buy it yesterday. I can't buy it today. And I think that was the last time I ever went to anything Black Friday, because I was like, you can't prove to me that anything is worth it.
Right. And now you can just order it and pour. I'm so sorry. Those of us, those delivery people, whether it's what do you call it, Prime Day. What I'm hoping is that you're asking yourself the right questions, and that your current decisions will help you to align with whatever your choices are in the future. I am so honored to be in community with people who help me to remember that.
The country that is for you is for you. It's there.
It's gonna call you.
We are, I haven't said it in a while, we are global citizens.
Yeah.
And the whole world is our space. Everywhere is not for everybody. Okay. I am chasing the energy space that best enhances my God-given energy. What the moon affects me, what the sun affects me, how the ocean affects me. That is my search. So we can go the world over, because when it hits, she's gonna know I'm gonna raise the flag.
This is our place.
Okay.
At least for a while.
For a while. Yeah. And so for a while, we're still, for those of you all still wondering, who got down to the end of this, like waiting for the information, we're still country dating. There's a few places that are going to be on this is where we start possibly list, because we're realizing the doing has to happen for us to be able to get the launch in.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
in the middle of that doing, we still are going. Go ahead and answer the question. You ain't gonna get out.
Why?
So
Our top choices.
top 5.
Okay, so we want to say countries.
Why not?
Okay, so well, y'all know we have residency in Mexico.
Correct.
That's always going to be out on the table. I don't know if I want to say that's a choice, but we've put that option on the table.
Correct.
And I think even if you don't know where you want to ultimately go, I think one of the things we realized early is we want options. And
Correct.
so Mexico has given us the ability to have that plus, because we don't have to have citizenship. We have residency.
And not necessarily a city in Mexico yet, because there's still places we'd like to visit
before we
but
decide on that.
I like Mexican culture and people. I like the energy I experienced in the places we visited in Mexico.
Absolutely.
That's
So
one.
South America, I think, has me in a bit of a chokehold. I love Spanish culture, period.
Agreed.
What's happened is I've looked at my life. I've looked at the benefits I have. We're going to talk in December. We're going to be talking about it more, but I look at that I have a degree. And when I found out about the professional visas, I was like, yo, you mean I can just have access because I got this associate's degree or this bachelor's degree? So I'm finding places that align with the culture aligns with me. I've had experience, and then I want to have other experiences. So Ecuador, Colombia are
Correct.
on the list. I kind of add them together because,
Correct. So they're 1.5 instead of 2.
Yeah, but probably number one for me is still Spain.
Okay.
So number one for me is still Spain, and I think we share.
And see, then it gets murky because we have not had the opportunity to visit Asia and Africa.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of, I don't know why, where I think you have ideas about this is this and this is that. I have a draw feeling to that side of the world.
Yeah.
Asia and Africa. I've not been there, so I can't say, oh, I want to, this with that. That doesn't work for me. I have to go and see. And so, Dr. Linda, don't worry.
I mean, I'm just saying, this is what happens when you are, even if you're not falling in love with the country, when you get in community, your people will say, look, if you come, I'll show you around. I'll make sure you have a place to stay. That is, if you don't do anything, don't choose a country, get in community with people who are going places, because that could be the leverage that you need for those of us who, this is a new process. Like before deciding to move abroad, I had never traveled internationally because I don't count going when we were in San Diego. When we were in San Diego, going to Tijuana as an international trip. Okay, I don't count that. We went to Windsor, Canada. Y'all don't laugh me off the planet. That is as far as I had gotten before joining the Exodus Summit community and the Move Abroad community.
And to be fair, I've been to a few islands and I've been to Canada, but when you go as a child, technically in my mind, that doesn't count. Because it's like going to Disney when you're 6. It doesn't really count. You're just there. There's fun. So I really would like for us to be able to visit. We got to visit Morocco, and I enjoyed that trip. We got a chance to visit Spain. I enjoyed that trip. I want to go to Thailand. I want to go to Vietnam. I want to go to the Philippines. We want to go to
Rwanda,
Ethiopia, Egypt, Rwanda, Kenya, Ghana. And so I'm open to those spaces.
Yeah.
And we are young enough.
Yes.
And beautiful enough. that we will go shine our shine on as many of those places as the divine will allow us to see.
Mm-hmm.
And when it hits, talking to the Minerves and they went to Honduras and what was the other place?
Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. But when they got to Ethiopia, bro was like, we'll
This
be
my
here a little
place.
while.
This is my place.
And again, I think as men, that's our approach to seeing things. I Little Park Connection, we'll be doing some visiting in Panama.
Oh, our first house
later this year. So we won't just be hanging out and dangling our feet over the into the water. We will be doing the due diligence, because Panama was one of our first considerations. And actually, to be honest, it's moved way back.
Yeah.
But we will do our due diligence.
Yeah.
As a chef, I tell people all the time, it's on your plate. You already paid for it. Try it out. Even if you decided that years ago you didn't like it, try it out. So despite what I feel about it, when we get to Panama, I'm going to treat it like it's a maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been wrong before. This area that I live in right now, in this city, in this state, in this country, I never would have come here on purpose. But I don't mind where we are.
Right.
And primarily it's because I'm with you.
Oh, come on now.
Because I can go and I can be anywhere as long as I'm with you.
Absolutely.
And y'all are welcome to come along for the ride.
Let's see. So, okay, this is really good. Okay, so y'all know the ladies are meeting up in Vietnam. DEXA Summit ladies are meeting up in Vietnam in February. And I want to go. Like, I started looking at tickets and where I could fly from that wouldn't break the bank. And what I had to do was to say, does this line up with my timeline? I have a strong desire. If the ladies are meeting up, I want to be there. Does it line up with the bigger goal of being out? Possibly mid to, mid 2025. So I'm having to see if there's a way for me to be able to do it. But my main goal, I want to protect. And so I might have to see y'all when y'all head back this way, but I know there's going to be a Columbia meetup. I just found out that there is a direct flight to Bogota. I found a direct flight to Cuenca. So, like, these are things that are opening my eyes that could help me. But most important is we have defined a goal of going. Have we decided where? Not so much, because there's a lot of work here to do. Hey, why pick? Why pick? I chose a partner. That's probably the only, I don't do multiple partners. And so this is the only time when I have to pick. There's a whole world out there. There are beautiful places. I think what we have to decide in this process is, how do we want to live? I'm a plant person. So house sitting is going to continue to be able to feed that part of me until we choose a place, because I'm a plant mama. I want to put seeds in the ground. I want to grow my own food as much as the mercados and things are available. And so I know that from how I live my life here. Mm-hmm. That's why I feel like we've been really intentional about talking about, how do I live? What's important to me? What about my routine? And what about my routine is important to me, brings me joy, nourishes my soul. And then those are many of the things that I want to take and recreate or expand on, because I've started them. I've started them in this country. So
you got to have a goal. I'm just moving on. I'm done.
Well, I'm just saying, you got to give yourself. I keep saying,
motivation.
If you're waiting on your partner to be in a place, you haven't given yourself the 150 plus options to see that they may be somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, sisters.
Yeah, your Negro might be somewhere else. Hey, hey, Jice, I'll text you later. I'll
Absolutely.
text you later. Hey, I've heard this before too, and we're doing our research on it.
Yeah.
Because that's so we need to find out how difficult that process is, the retirement.
Yes, it is a
the
long
degree.
process in Panama. That's why it's not at the top of our list. It is very straightforward in Ecuador. So I have done that research.
And as always, Dr. Linda closes us out with the statement of the day.
Yes, choice.
Make sure that the choice is one that you're okay with. I mean, and heck, if it doesn't work,
then you got 150 plus more to try. I mean, I'm just
when you plan, when you prepare. I'm watching these lovely ladies who are 50 and 60, these gentlemen who are, I mean, and people are saying, hey, I landed there, I spent some time, that didn't work. I packed my one bag, I moved. And you do it responsibly, because as we've been saying over the course of this conversation today, when you prepare for it, the young drop in places.
We cannot bop.
What did I say the other day? There ought to be a checkbox for adult, grown, and grown. I'm grown. Ain't nobody got time for that.
We can't bob forever.
Anybody got time for that? I want to be able to move around while my legs move, while my back is standing, while my stomach is strong enough to try foods in places. I want to be able to do that. I'm not trying to live in all places all the time, but I want to find the place, and I want to do the due diligence of finding the place that, like soul food, like comfort food, warms me to my heart without making me feel bloated or upset or irritated. You know what I'm talking about. There are foods that make you feel good because you remember them. There are foods that make you feel good because your belly got fat, but a really good comfort something hits you in here.
Yeah. It nourishes it not just nourishes your body, it nourishes your soul. You feel.
So I'm looking for my comfort spot.
Yep.
And y'all keep supporting us and encouraging us, because we're doing the same for you.
Absolutely. We look forward to continue to share our journey. We're doing scouting trips. We're learning how the way that we're working doesn't allow us to do a lot of travel, but you can land in a place, get a place that's a home base, and then try out a few places that are near there. Like that's why community is important. Do this first, get in community. That's what we think is the most important. All right.
We are supporters together.
Yes.
We are a community together. Go into these chat, as we always say, all these people here have pages. Jace got more than one page. She's big time. Go in and subscribe to this community of people together. Connect with these people, because it broadens the conversation. If you are watching from the future, please make sure you put some comments in the comment section. We always respond. Always respond. And hit the hashtag replay gang. D put a video up this week. Go back and watch that video. And you have an opportunity to say now what you just said you didn't get a chance to say. You can come to her. She does consultations. I don't miss any opportunity to say, no, we have not moved abroad, but this is who we are. What you get from us every week, this is who we are. Yeah. And we will have this conversation with you in person. We've interviewed a lot of you in the chat today, and you can tell each other. We went behind the scenes. We had this whole conversation just like this.
Absolutely.
Support us, because we're moving forward and we are supporting you.
Absolutely.
We're H&D Abroad. I'm Herman.
I'm Dee, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye for now.